All right, YouTube. This Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Back with another video on this Saturday morning. Now, in case you don't know, they had the April 5th protest, the hands-off anti-Trump protest that the liberals have been calling for. You know, I don't know what made them just pick April 5th, but they decided April 5th to stage these protests all throughout the country. Now, it appears to be, from what I've been seeing, watching up to this point, I'm going to show you guys that they're protesting about Social Security. And it's not like Elon Musk and Donald Trump didn't come out and tell them nobody would lose their Social Security or their benefits while they were cutting the bureaucracy. But they didn't believe that. You know, I guess everything that Trump says is a lie, but everything the Democrat says is the truth. Or maybe not, because we come to find out that Joe Biden was mentally incapacitated when they was telling us he was fine, and they were saying that if we said that he was going into dementia, that we were right-wing conspiracy theorists, but that turned out to be true. The pandemic originated in China, that turned out to be true. The deep state, Eric Adams just came out and admitted that there's a deep state, so that turned out to be true. So at what point do they realize that these Democrats are lying to them, using them as human fodder for a political war that they can't win? Their liberalism has been too much for the average American citizen. For the average American taxpayer that is looking to build generational wealth and build a family, that's not conducive to democratic policy. Democratic policy is to keep the status quo, to keep certain communities in ghettos, certain communities marginalized, while others are rich, wealthy, and elite. And they were going to actually replace those at the bottom with a new voting bloc from Venezuela and other countries. And that's what the immigration crisis was about. So, at what point do we have to ask ourselves, what are these people really protesting and marching about? Let's look into their March Live. This is for fair use in the 1976 Copyright Act for education and commentary. Let's look at their live protest right now.
Hey, I'm Ashley Bishop reporting on the ground live with Status Quo outside of the New York Public Library, where there are thousands of people out here protesting Trump and Musk and their policy of class war on the working class. John Farina and I are out here in the fucking rain. It's very wet out.
Now, see, we're going to start with what she says right now. They're out there protesting against Donald Trump and Elon Musk for their class war against the working class. These people even starting to sound like socialists and communists. That's why they keep using terminology like class warfare, capitalism. The Democratic Party and their leftists have been fully infiltrated by communists and socialists. And they're showing you in every way. Let's listen to some more of what she says she's out there for.
Outside, we're getting very soggy, but we are here reporting for you guys so you can see what's going on the ground. We are going to, in just a minute, walk around, take you through the crowds, and talk to some people. See why they're out here today, again, in the rain, to protest Trump and Musk. I think there are going to be speeches that are starting in just a few minutes. So when that starts, we're going to take you over there so you can see these speeches and get further into the crowd. According to AP News this morning, there are like 1,200 rallies and events scheduled all over the country. So it's not just here in New York City, where there are thousands of people. I don't know, John and I were trying to estimate before. We want to say there's like 5,000 to 7,000 people so far, again, in the rain. So big crowd, big gathering, lots of energy here. So John and I are going to take you through the crowd now. So we have some time before the speeches start. So let's go and see if we can get a closer look and talk to some folks. So the march is just starting right now. We have people marching down Fifth Avenue. So far, we are chanting, Elon Musk has got to go. Elon Musk has got to go. Please join the march behind the front banner. Please join us, New York, behind the front banner. Thank you for coming, New York. Please join us behind the front banner. Team that's blocking government. New York, please join us behind the front banner. Thank you for coming. Looking beautiful. So we have some calls for people standing on the sidewalk to come join the march. And a lot of good signs here. Some of them giant hand-painted hands saying, hands off, hey crooks, remove, reverse, reclaim, tax the rich, a good standard, hands off Medicaid, and Corey sent me. I like that one. Elon Musk has got to go. Please step back and let the march move forward.
What we can do is birthday boy. What's up, brother?
Show me what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
One thing that's good, there's not too many black people in their liberal army. So explain to me again, they're protesting Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They're protesting the duly elected president in hopes to gain what? What's the end game? Or are they just marching and being played like puppets on a string? Because they have no demands. They're saying hands off Social Security and hands off this. He's already said he's not taking it. But he's definitely not going to stop the audits. So after, I'm gonna let you see some more what's going on in New York, and we're gonna look around the country and see what's going on. They're even protesting Trump in London. In the UK, they're protesting the closing of USAID because they feel like he had no right to stop their foreign aid. He had no right to cut off the money to Europe. Let's listen to some more in New York, though. Okay, we see they got the same old usual in New York. Let's look and see what they're saying in London.
and I don't know what the answers would be. I just asked the question.
They should.
Now, mind you, these are the Europeans over in the UK. Let's find out where they're protesting Trump.
They should not be removing references to diversity, equity, and inclusion. They should not be defunding government programs like the National Institutes of Health and USAID that funded humanitarian organizations around the world. They are literally killing thousands of people with their incredibly inhumane policies. What would you say to people that tell you, well, Trump just won a democratic election? I would say that nothing he's doing now is what he campaigned on. So even people who voted for him are not getting what they voted for. With the tariffs, everyone has lost money. Eggs are not cheaper. They're not having a better life. So they should be even angrier than anyone else. That's great, Alyssa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Who is the they that should be more angry than anybody else? And I don't know if you noticed the eggs are down. But let's see what they're talking about in London.
Cheers. Let's see. Just gonna find a bloke now. Hi there. Could we do a quick interview with you for BBC News?
I guess. What do you want to ask?
Well, we just want to ask what brings you to protest here today? Where are you from? What are the issues for you?
Okay.
Okay, great. Are you an expat, American?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just thank you. Okay. So just as fine, looking at me rather than.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can I ask your name and how to spell it, please?
It's Michael Macy, M-A-C-Y.
And Michael, what's brought you here today?
Well, just my concerns about what's happening, well, certainly in the U.S. and its effect worldwide.
What are those concerns?
Well, I'm concerned about what I see as an erosion of the rule of law. There seems to be this tendency to ignore judicial decisions. That just undermines the whole system.
This old man is in the UK, but he knows the Democratic company line. He's saying everything that the liberals say over here, but it all boils down to Trump cutting those funds. This is what they're talking about. This is what Europe is mad about. USAID. They even got France protesting. Let's finish listening to this old geezer.
I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the dismantling of many aspects of the federal government, which I think provide for people. I think governments have a responsibility, and the legislature had decided to provide services with those programs, and they're just now being dismantled. So there's many issues.
What would you say to all of your fellow Americans who voted for Trump? Didn't he just win the election?
He did, and that's democracy. And I would ask them, is this what you wanted? Is this what you expected? Is this what you voted for?
What do you think's happening that they didn't expect?
Well, I'm not sure. Many people expected different things. Some people were concerned about immigration. Some people were concerned about the price of eggs. Some people were concerned about what they saw as an erosion of particular values. So I think as Trump has acted quickly across many fronts on a lot of issues, you'd have to go back and have conversations with people and say, well, what did you voted for? What have you voted for? Is this what you had hoped for? And are you seeing things happen that you never expected or couldn't have imagined? And I don't know what the answers would be. I just asked the questions.
Like what? Who hasn't gotten a Social Security check? Whose food stamps and bridge card has been taken? Whose Social Security has actually been taken right now? Can you tell me? So you mean to tell me that you guys were all right with the tariff situation with all the other countries charging us more in tariffs for goods than we were getting from them? You were okay with the whole world united in the exploitation of American finances and economy while the citizens struggle? You didn't think anything was wrong with how they were running their bureaucracy in the federal government. Somebody had to change it. But even this guy in England is towing the company line because it's really what they're mad about is their liberalism. This all boils down to LGBTQ plus agendas. It can't be anything else. Let's see what they're talking about in France.
Well, for the first time, in response to some of these policies put in place, not only by Donald Trump, but by Elon Musk, there is a series of protests that's been dubbed hands off that have been organized across the United States.
And then, uh, don't y'all find it novel the way they say policies put in play by Elon Musk? Elon Musk doesn't have any authority to put anything into play. He works at the behest of Donald Trump and the federal government. He's only doing an audit. All this over an audit. And it has, seems like the whole world in a tizzy. It almost makes the so-called conspiracy theory of a new world order seem real. If the whole world was wrapped up in how we pay Social Security and our benefits, let's listen to France.
And abroad as well, at least in a few cities. That includes here in Paris. Well, we're going to cross now to Bob Vallier, who's the spokesperson for Democrats Abroad France and a board member of Paris Against Trump. Thank you very much for joining us today, Bob. So what is the objective?
You hear that? Paris Against Trump. Can't make this up.
I organize these protests here in Paris.
Well, here in Paris, we're just simply joining what is now a global movement of these protests. We know they're taking place in Toulouse, in Lyon, in the Riviera, also in London, Berlin, Tokyo, Sydney, and all across the United States, both in the big towns, New York, DC, Chicago, Seattle, Los Angeles, but also in university towns, small towns. They're happening everywhere. And millions of Americans are coming out, not just in the United States, but really around the world. And in places that are not in the United States, we're being joined by our French friends here who are equally disgusted by what's happening in the United States. So it's not surprising that we have a good turnout. In fact, it's a great pleasure because it shows the world that even here we care about what's happening at home.
Bob, so Americans here in France are obviously watching and concerned about what they see happening, but do you think that there are ways in which Americans living abroad, particularly here in Paris or even elsewhere, have felt the effects firsthand of this second Trump presidency?
Well, absolutely. I don't know if we felt them just yet, but we're going to feel them. I made the mistake yesterday afternoon of checking my 401k.
First he said absolutely, then he said he don't know, and in his double talk, and you got to ask yourself, what are they really up to, these liberals? I'm telling you, it's not what you think it is. It's really about those terminations of late-term pregnancies, those fetuses, those embryos, those stem cells. And it was about the money and the cheap labor. And it was about a one genderless world. It was about anarchy and chaos. But he can't come up with any words other than we just out here protesting. In France. And I ask again, who in earshot of me has lost their benefits? Has anybody out there lost their bridge card, their Social Security, their Section 8? Or what has Trump actually done other than upset the deep state and the status quo?
And I'm still recovering from the nausea that I experienced. You know, Donald Trump made $5.1 trillion worth of value disappear from the stock market in the last couple of days because of its disastrous and stupid tariffs policy. I think there's a lot of Americans abroad who are feeling that sting. I know we have stories in Democrats abroad of people who've told us firsthand experiences by national families trying to go to the United States, being stopped and detained for 2 or 3 hours, questioned, have their phones looked at, and interrogated about their beliefs about Trump. I myself am worried about going to the United States during the next 4 years because I'm very critical of Trump. My phone could be seized. My passport could be seized. I'm also binational. There's a lot of fear about that. So yes, Americans abroad are feeling the effects of Donald Trump's disaster.
Okay, he fearmonger, but didn't he scare you when he said bi? But then he said binational because the way he was acting, you knew it was going. You knew he on the alphabet list. And let's see. I'm gonna give y'all one more. We're gonna see what's happening in Pennsylvania, a little closer to home for the haters. A little closer to home.
A beacon for our democracy. Let Pennsylvania be a beacon for fair elections. And let the United States be that beacon across the world. Hands off! Hands off!
Fraud, waste, and abuse are the 3 words that are being used to dismantle our government. These are mistruths spread by Elon Musk and the administration trying to take away our funding.
We deliver those services that lift people up. We deliver drug and alcohol prevention and rehabilitation. We are a support system for people in sobriety. That's a really important thing.
It meant that we took our workers, 1,600 workers in this county, to a $16 minimum wage. We used to have a punitive pay-to-stay policy for our prison, where we charged prisoners to be in our prison, ultimately giving them debt to re-enter society with.
We still have another 2.1 million voters that are not registered. Potential voters that are not registered. So think of how many people will be disenfranchised with unfair changes to our voting laws.
We work to get money out of politics here in this building behind us.
We're gonna do one more. We're gonna look at Germany. One thing about it, as I said before, the black people stayed home. Now let's look at why they mad in Germany. They're over in Germany and France and the UK saying fire Elon Musk, and they claiming to be Democrats. You can't tell me that these liberals, and that's from America, are not treasonous and traitorous at the core. You had Jasmine Crockett say she was rooting for Canada and Mexico against the United States. They are linking up with all these disgruntled people in Europe who wanted to keep overtaxing and using our economy as a surplus for their own. And listen what they're saying. They're telling us who to fire.
Yeah, but it's good. I like it. It's outside of Darmstadt.
The billionaires from taking our tax dollars, our public services. Die wollen auch hier das Recht von uns wegnehmen, dass wir entscheiden, Ministerien. They are running agencies of the United States. So haben Sie und ich immer wieder.
He doesn't have any respect for democracy. All this talk about a third term is just all, I think it's just all to get us our mind somewhere else. When there's
one thing about it, Trump got every sassy man in the world mad.
all this stuff happening. The way he's destroying our democracy, I mean, dismounting the whole government.
Mind you, they're in Germany. Think about it. Ours. Come on.
And his politics, his everything. I'm sorry to say, I'm a New Yorker originally, and I know what Trump's about. That guy is, he's poison. He's a liar. He's a thief. He's a con man. He should be in prison.
Trying to control voters. We have to show solidarity with all the demonstrations in 1,000 cities today in the USA. We have to show that we are not in agreement with what is happening in the USA. People in Germany, people in Europe need to know that. This is not something that is happening with our approval, and we need to get onto our feet and out in the streets to show that this is something that will not pass.
Now I end on the topic of this show. Why black people stayed home. And the few that did go are totally brainwashed to suffer from Stockholm Syndrome. We realistically know that these audits and this shutting down of needless departments in the federal government was how they were stealing the taxpayers' money. We know that what's been uncovered by Doge up to this point is in the trillions of dollars of theft and larceny and fraud and betrayal. We know that these liberals wanted the termination of pregnancy to the 8th month, the transgendering of children, open borders, and a genderless society. While at the same time censoring the Bible and what other things that people can say. Yet somehow they flipped it to act as if they weren't the socialists, communists, and fascists that were attempting to destroy this country. So when you see these protests and you see the absence of black people, how about this? We all are not as dumb as you thought we were. And I'm going to end on that note. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Like, share, and subscribe to the video. Support the channel. Always salute to all patriots. Keep your head on a swivel. Peace.